All right.
And Brian, while you're setting up, I don't know if it's adjustable, but the camera in the room is just showing one half of it. It's if it can be easily adjusted, we can see everyone. There you go.
Oh, yeah, there we are.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see, Carrie. Mike is not working. All right. Thanks, Carrie. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll walk through our agenda for today. Everybody see that all right?
Yes.
So first up, I did have Emily Fisher, but she was a little hard to reach, so never actually confirmed the speaking spot. So I don't see her on yet. So my assumption is maybe she just never got the original request or something about the email. I don't know. But I'll find a way to get in touch with her and get the latest on those flights. If you remember, she said she might have had more information when I talked to her in the summer. But the last month it's been kind of quiet. So
She might be flying through these plumes.
I'm
I'm there right now. Ask Grant to do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I hope she's doing good work. She usually does amazing work. So. Yeah, and then Russ has said that he's not on now, but he'll be on time for his speaking slot. But that's going to be accelerated since we don't have Emily here.
We'll bond up since Bonnie's here.
Yeah, I think that might work.
Just bump me to the very beginning.
Yeah, you okay with that?
Yeah. Sure, sure. I'm sorry to not see more people in person, but I hope everyone's safe and, I'm really sorry to hear about all the fires that are burning right now, so.
Yeah.
Hope everyone's doing okay.
Dr. Alverman was supposed to be here, but he had contingencies, he called it, which included a blown pump on one of his experiments, so he can't irrigate his experiments right now, but he did send in some pretty technical description of what's going on, and I have a really cool graph that he wanted me to share, so we can definitely cover that. And then after that, we had some time slotted for our overall milestone report and the contingency plan update. We've got Jim on the line. I don't see Josh yet.
Josh is out till he's away till Monday. I was expecting Megan. Hopefully she'll join shortly.
And Rebecca was going to join remotely, she told me. I don't see her yet. So we'll get to that. Then we had Bonnie, which Bonnie, if you're comfortable, we'll move you up.
Yeah.
And then just some next steps for everyone, and then we'll move forward. Any questions? A little bit of juggle for the last minute. All right. So as always, as we get started, just a few minutes here to review our overall guiding principles. We just remind ourselves each time we meet why we're here and why it's so important that the work we do continue and even accelerate in some ways, given everything that we've learned over the last few years. So just give yourself a quick glance.
I do also have them in my presentation, so.
Oh, good.
Just, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, then I'll do.
Well, I won't belabor it, but yeah.
I'm glad you're reiterating it. Continue the collaboration, right? And then our last three here, the best management practices, which we'll talk about, promote the implementation of those, and assess the work to narrow the gaps in sources both within the area and across Colorado. Okay, and then I want to thank everyone for coming here who's made it up to Fort Collins, and I wanted to just at this point say we have been able to renew my contract for the next year. CDPHE has picked that up, so we're thankful for them, and that will allow us to do potentially more in-person events as we move forward. I had put in there that we would have two, one including this one, then the next one in November I thought would be remote, And then potentially also in February or whatever that was, would be also remote since the winter. But then that spring one, maybe in May, we could all get back together up here or someplace central. And potentially do a tour or a site visit or something. So be thinking about what we would want to do in that May meeting. Might be an interesting time to see one of our facilities or one of the sites, take a look at something on the ground. I'd be willing to facilitate that and help coordinate that, because I think that would be really a unique opportunity for all of us, especially with the 9 months lead time. We should be able to pull that off. Hello. Hi. I'm Brian.
I'm Greg.
Greg. Zwicky. Yeah, nice to meet you in person.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yes.
I'm Jill Berry.
Okay, we got Greg Zwicky here now.
Thanks.
All right, so again, I'll put that in the notes and so on, but it's the idea of next May when we meet. Let's think about where we might go, what we might do, what we could learn. We could make that more of a half day type of situation if we want. Maybe we could have a lunch together or something in the middle of that. I'd be willing to help coordinate anything and all if it helps us to continue our work together. So please feel free to send me an email if you have ideas on that, and we'll continue to work it over the next few months.
It's good.
All right. Well, I don't see Emily. I'm just gonna do one last check. Emily, are you there? Okay. Let's move ahead then. We'll swap places since I don't have Russ yet either. So Bonnie, you want to take the screen?
Okay, sure. Do you want me to just share from here? You want me to?
You can share from your screen if you're,
Yeah.
are you logged in? to the Zoom?
Yes, yeah, we should be good. I think I have all the audio off, so hopefully I won't
Yeah, no audio. That's right.
cause any feedback. Okay, so as I had mentioned, I did put in, give everybody an update on where we're at with our BMP inventory. But figured we would, just kind of start with the fact that a lot of our guiding principles are very centered around BMPs, evaluating them, looking for new ones, assessing implementation rates and doing outreach. So a lot of this is very tied to a lot of our guiding principles. And just wanted to give kind of a reminder of how we got where we are today. Kind of in 2018, there was a lot of discussion about where we should focus our efforts, where it would be the most effective. So we decided that Weldon, Larimer County would be probably the best places to put effort into because of their proximity to the park, how many upslope events they get, and how many ag producers they have. And kind of in tandem with that, the BMP work group was kind of taking all of the information we have about BMPs and focusing it on more of a working list of BMPs that should be the most effective, given what we knew at the time. And that kind of turned into, we used that for the BMP survey that was done in 2019. We also identified some research that needed to be done, so started that CIG grant, and then realized that we need a better way to kind of get a grasp on all of the BMPs and the science behind them, and started building the inventory. I think the first part of that, and we did it with a lot of help with Brian and facilitated group meetings, is taking, again, all of the lists that we have from the years we've been doing this. And a lot of those lists, I would say, are kind of written more to be in a report. So it's descriptive, and we needed to break those out into just kind of smaller pieces and try to figure out how to organize, how to group them in a way that makes sense for managing a database. So took everything we had, tried to narrow it down. Where we're at now is we've got 37 year-round practices between livestock and crop production.
What? Is
And
that
then
the
I would say
same thing that you had before?
it is similar, yes, yeah. But it's in a format now where we can tie literature reviews to it. We can tie implementation rates to it. We just wanted a list to start with. But that's where we started, Megan, when we have not added anything to it yet, but
Got it. Thank you.
that's where we started. And a lot of it was just really narrowing it down to what is a specific BMP? When we say something more general, what does that mean? And then the year-round practices, does include all livestock. So it's swine, poultry, dairy and beef, everything that's important in Colorado. And then of those 37 practices, there's 12 that can be deployed during early warning system periods, upslope event periods. And there is a lot of overlap there. We don't necessarily, I don't think we have any EWS, practices that aren't on the year-round list. And for livestock, it's genetic selection, animal health, production technologies, dietary formulation and precision, housing, manure management, and compost management. And then under those, there are kind of several other specifics. And with crop production, I would really say that it all really falls into the 4R management. Whether it's right source, right rate, right time, or right placement, or more of a general big picture looking at all of those. And then the 4R SMART is really your precision technology. So that allows you to still do right source, right time, right place, but with better accuracy. And then when it comes to the early warning system, it's really what can you do with manure or compost, and then what can you do with your fertilizer application. We also came to a consensus on what we are hoping to be able to evaluate each of these BMPs on, depending on what literature is available. So we want to be able to look at how effective they are at reducing ammonia emissions. We want to know if there's been any studies done on if it's feasible, if it's scalable, if there's any information on costs, we'd like to know that. If there's any nod to potential adverse effects like increased greenhouses and then greenhouse gases, and then eventually looking at implementation rates. And this will also really help us identify knowledge gaps. In all this discussion, we kind of came up with a scientific rubric to guide what we're doing. So we want to, every time we're looking at it for each BMP, is there a clear and compelling scientific basis for the practice? Does it make sense? Have they shown it to work at a small scale under just highly controlled conditions, or across a full range of conditions? Have they done it at a full scale? And then has that practice been demonstrated in an area like Colorado? And with Colorado, the livestock that we have and the cropping systems we have. After we built the data set, the database, and tried for a little while to put information in ourselves, we realized that was way too big of a lift. Would have been a full-time job, in addition to all the jobs that everybody has. So we hired SES, and this was a partnership between Swine, Dairy, and Colorado Livestock Association to fund this, so that we can get all of this background data started. So they've finished their first pass and given that back to us. It's got 99 papers in it. It does, like I said, it covers dairy, swine, poultry, and crop production. So we are, the next phase for the BMP work group will be kind of combing through that, seeing what we're missing. We've identified a couple extra columns we'd like them to pull out before they finalize it. Had a couple extra papers to give them, and then we'll have that finalized. And from there, break out into kind of have volunteers from each industry to look through what they've put together for us and identify by industry which ones are the most effective that are applicable to Colorado. We may potentially remove some or kind of table some if there's not a lot of data there, if it's not feasible, or if there's really not a lot of efficacy there, if you're going to only achieve a small amount of emissions reductions. And then again, look for additional BMPs that need more research, like we did with the CIG grant, seeing if there's anything that looks promising but needs funding. We will be looking for new BMPs continuously, and then this will be used to kind of inform our future surveying efforts. So that is where we're at. I was thinking we could probably have this done maybe end of September, October timeframe. We still need to get together to go through it and send an ask back to SES, but they worked pretty quickly once we gave them the nod. So.
Questions? Thanks, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
So this is great. Once you come up with a list of BMPs that you think are going to be applicable to Colorado, what are the next steps for implementation?
It's education. I mean, that's obviously what we can do. There's no mandatory things there, so it's an education.
Yeah.
With producers. So once we have that narrowed down, then we'll take them. I'll do swine, Bert will do dairy, and Bonnie will do feedlots, and we will start adding our association groups trying to
Yeah,
get
and I think
education.
as for CLA, as far as that goes, I think that's kind of one of the reasons we exist, right?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of educational stuff, right? We have safety meetings, we've got all of the stuff that we do. And I think that would be something we would add to like, okay. I would say a lot of producers don't know about this Rocky Mountain National Park at all, right? They
Yeah.
don't know what's going on and what we've been working on. So I think it's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve. I do know couple small producers that I've tried to talk to them about this. They're like, what do you mean? Yeah, we've got work to do. But, I see CLA and the other groups, kind of leading the way
Yeah.
in that and utilizing those of us in each, commodity group or in each, group to.
Cause you reach almost everyone in the state.
Yes.
I know because I live over in Steamboat most of the time, right? Yeah.
And I would say, so the other thing that we would like to do, we did the survey in 2019 and a lot of BMPs were being implemented at a very high rate. And I think some of them are gonna be some will turn out to be some of the most effective. We had a lot of folks that were utilizing nutritionists, formulating rations. And preliminarily, these are the things we're seeing as having the biggest impact.
Yeah.
So part of it's gonna be saying, well, you know, these four are really effective and highly implemented. Although the survey didn't cover all of, well, you know, we didn't get response from everybody. So some of it will still be maybe saying, if they are highly implemented, getting better implementation data for some of them. And then there's, I think we'll be wrapping it up sometime soon, but a second iteration of the survey was on just a couple of BMPs that were under implemented. And so they're trying to understand, CLA is wanting to understand why, you know, what the.
With the barriers. under
Yes,
that, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll know more from that too.
Yeah,
but
and I think it would also, sorry, Bonnie, I keep
No, you're good.
interrupting you. I just know that some of the basic BMPs we already do, right? But of course, across species, we don't know what other, like, I don't know what swine does that we already, like Bonnie mentioned, the nutritionists. Every dairy's got one, right? The very basic stuff, I was really happy to see, like, okay, we all already do that. I think we've come up, like, we're doing more than, I don't want to say than people think, because you don't know, like, how would people know what we do as an industry as far as this stuff goes? You can't expect people to know. So there are a lot of things of those basic things that we do already, which I think we need to get the word out, like, listen, we are already implementing this and this is how, and this is why. And then we can move along to some of the new research that's out there, some of the stuff that maybe we haven't tried, or some of the stuff that we've tried and we need to tell outside the industry, that's not feasible. Or we make a little change and we can maybe make it. I know there's feed additives that are coming out, right? That's something that if it works, it's a hard time in the dairy industry right now to be saying, oh, let's buy something else. But I think I can only speak for the dairy industry. We're really open to, I think we're a pretty progressive group. So I think if something were to work, I think we'd be really open to that. And I'm pretty proud of the work we do already. I think we all are in our respective industries, but
And then you think about like the swine. Most of the vast majority of swine aren't in or Larimer County, but we have a lot of smaller producers that we probably aren't aware of some of these things that we as the larger producers are aware of. And so it's just getting that through our different organizations and then explaining to them how they can utilize this technology
And we've also talked some about looping in poultry. It's been difficult in the past, but we feel like once we have this done, because a lot of poultry literature came up in the SES literature review. So once we've got this kind of pulled together, I think it'll also be reaching out to those folks. Well, there's not that many of them. They do have some large facilities in the.
Is SES doing any kind of economic assessment of these best management practices? Like, would some of them provide cost savings? And that would be a good argument.
I think that's one of the things we need to ask for, put in the additional ask. It was a column. It's one of the columns we want to add, but we might need to ask them to go back through the literature and at least try to pull that out. But at least right now, it's attempting to glean all of that information at the same time from these papers. But at least once we have those papers, we can see if it's in there.
I think there's some
you
of it is just a general feasibility. Is this in the range of being feasible, right? And then we have to narrow down kind of cost per unit of implementation.
Well, and some of those best management practices utilize crops that aren't even grown here in Colorado. So we're not gonna, I mean, on the swine ones that I have looked at thus far, some of them looked really good but I can't get that in Colorado.
Right.
That, you know, it's not a grown crop maybe even in US. So,
Sorry to interrupt. Jim has his hand raised.
Yeah, thanks, Kate.
Thank you. Yeah, and just a thanks to Bonnie for this great summary of kind of how we got here, and also apologies for not being there in person. We've been a bit consumed in releasing the milestone report, which is going to happen today. I do think this is. I mean, it's great. It's great progress in the and the nuts and bolts of how it's going to be utilized. I think have been mentioned, and informing future. Hopefully more frequent BMP surveys to identify maybe those that are not as broadly adopted, to try to increase that adoption rate. And we do say we do say in the milestone report that there is relatively high implementation of BMPs, but we want to keep on that and move things forward to increase even broader adoption rates of these vetted list of BMPs by the Ag Subcommittee. It's also, Bonnie, that something that obviously we want to work with you on this the upcoming presentation to the commission, but I think it's a significant piece that should be described to the commission on what Ag is doing to get there and contribute. So thank you for this summary, and that was just my kind of spiel in connecting those dots.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I know that's the end point where everybody wants to be. And
Right.
and we will get there to answer those questions. And
Right.
so it's just a matter of trying to get this one piece in place, and it's gonna be painful and it's not gonna be fun. But we're
Indeed.
getting there, we're getting closer, because I would say, at least right now, we don't know what to tell people to run off and do. We know things that weren't gonna hurt and that will probably help, but it's just, and the group is trying to take what the group's been doing for a long time, pull it all together and really try to start putting some hard numbers behind it. So yeah, but I know we'll get there, Jim. We will.
Agreed.
And that is the end goal, is to answer those questions and then to focus our efforts. And I think we've even through this last milestone report realized where we kind of need to go in the future. And I think we'd all like this to kind of be a standing agenda item where we're constantly revisiting this process, constantly presenting things, whether it turns into a survey or, we find a new BMP or we find something that we bring to the group that we want to have researched. So I kind of see this as just being, as it has been, but just officially a standing item where we're constantly talking about it at these quarterly meetings.
Sounds
As
good.
you go out and talk to producers, just keep in mind that NRCS is willing to help too. So like, I know Brian and I worked on trying to map the practices, the BMPs
Yes.
to NRCS practices and those sorts of things. So
Yeah.
we're happy to do that again and be at the table for if you go out there and there's a smaller producer that wants some help to maybe help the economics a little bit, that's what we can do. So.
And then I think that's also another route for some implementation, especially for data for smaller folks, that you guys have data on that. And if we tell you which practices we're interested in, then there's numbers there too. And that it's easy for us to, I think, talk to the bigger operators. It is very difficult to talk to the smaller operators, but that's more what you guys are doing. So yeah, appreciate
We may
it.
not have a whole bunch of that right now,
It's okay.
which
Yeah.
is fine, but that's where we can help with. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
as we go out and talk to producers, that's, we can at least say, hey, here's an offering we can provide you.
Good. Other questions or thoughts on what Bonnie has shared? So I just have,
I kind of echo sort of what Greg was talking about and Bonnie as well, and that is that this BMP study the literature review is going to be so helpful in making sure that we have, we avoid that I think challenge that we have where we ask someone to do something, but we're not certain what those results may be. We can't quantify those. Oftentimes, even the cost and what have you are sort of up in the air, and so we're limited to doing things that we think won't do any harm, and we hope they'll do some good. I think what we're going to be able to do as this comes together is identify those things where there's a scientific basis behind it. And I think that's going to make that education part so much easier and better, as well as then tying into what NRCS can do. Greg has done a great job of tying back to those practices that I think we'll have a more holistic approach that's more scientifically sound. And so I think this is the right approach to do. And I think the the Britt Opperman study will also hopefully help to accomplish some of those same goals by being able to quantify or at least characterize more accurately that the benefits in certain conditions are there and real. And I think that makes the education a lot more substantial and justifiable and effective.
Thanks, Brian. I was just gonna add, so we do have support. I can help provide additional support between the quarterly meetings, right? If we want to facilitate a meeting or try to work through some other things, we do have some options there. So as you think about between now and the November meeting, for example, you know, what support would you want, Bonnie, for the producers, right? And all that.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds good.
you know, let's think about how we can maximize the resources and that we do have as a team.
We'll do.
And
Yeah.
I'm happy to coordinate or facilitate any of those things.
Thank you.
All right. So we're back on track, having missed Emily Fisher today. So let's go ahead. Russ, I see you there.
I'm here.
All right. What's the latest from your view? I'll let you share screen if you like, or
Yeah. Just got a few slides here. And okay, there we go. Okay, you can see it?
Yep.
Good. Cool. Yeah, sorry, I guess you must have rearranged the schedule a little bit because Emily didn't join, or I don't know.
Yep, that's right.
Got it. Okay, well, fair enough. I guess we're at least I'm here at the right time. So yep, so just a few updates on where things are with the early warning system. Kind of the quick project update, as I think most people are familiar, that thanks to the CLA for supporting the system for another year to kind of just keep things running the way they have been, which we're doing, and also to support a new machine, which was the last one I think was installed in like 2016. So getting up there in years, and we've ordered a new one and should get it in the next month or two. And I think we'll test it out once we get it, but I think I'm hoping we can run the models in a timely manner out even maybe another 12 or 24 hours, maybe get a little bit of extra lead time on some of these warnings, but we'll see how the timing works out once we get the system and get it set up. But just as kind of an overview map, as a reminder and so forth of the counties that are included in the warning system, and then this is the total over the entire, we've been doing this for over 10 years now. The total number of warnings that have been issued for each county over that 10-year period. So, as expected, it's Larimer and Weld are the basically, if there's ever going to be a warning issue, Larimer and Weld will be in it, and then kind of a decreasing number of warnings the farther away you get from the Front Range. But you kind of see, so even at I think I've got the graph in a minute, so I'll come back to that in terms of like how many per year this works out to be. And then this is this year so far, 2024. I'll show the list of the warnings in a minute. But basically eight warnings have gone out so far this year in total. But none that like extended out into that farthest east tier of counties or the farthest southeast ones there. So here's the breakdown per year. So this is for Weld County, but again, every warning that's ever been issued has included Weld County. So it kind of shows the number per year. This year we've got 8 so far. Last year we issued a lot of warnings, 20, and I'll kind of review 2023 in there in a minute. But yeah, kind of in that 8 to 10 per year average over the long run, which seems to work out reasonably well. That 2020 and 2021 were strange years because there was COVID, obviously. They were quite dry during those years also. And there was kind of a gap in some of the support and so forth during that time frame. So that's why there's a few reasons why those are low, but you kind of see once we got everything back up and running where the warnings have been in there. So I talked about this last meeting, so I won't kind of belabor it, but just as a review of 2023, we now have the data for almost all of 2023. I think maybe there's like the last 2 weeks of December that are not available in the NADP yet, but it's unlikely there's anything too interesting in there. So basically we only ended up with 3 weeks at each site that were, reached the threshold of what we call a deposition event, which we're using 90th percentile of all weeks for that. So it was at Lock Vale, it was 1 week at the end of March, and then 1 in July and 1 in August. At Beaver Meadows, it was 1 week in June, and then 2 in August. And one of those was a match between the 2 stations. So we successfully warned on all of these weeks, which is good. But we also had a large number of false alarms in 2023 where they got a lot of precipitation, but not high deposition. So I showed this slide last time and we discussed it a fair bit then, so we don't really need to spend time on it now unless, maybe somebody's been thinking about this and have good ideas about, since the last meeting of what might have been going on. I think probably some combination of number 2 and 3 here are probably the most likely reasons for why there wasn't as much deposition for the amount of precipitation that happened. But it may be a little bit of these other things as well. Maybe the warning system actually led to reduced emissions, although I'm guessing that's the least likely of these options. So that's kind of the recap of 2023. Now that we have pretty much all the data from there, this is 2024 so far. So we had a few pretty substantial rain/snow events in the spring. There was the one in early February. That was where, like in Fort Collins, it was we set the wettest or close to the wettest February on record in a single day. So we got a whole lot of rain. That was snow up in the mountains though. We don't have deposition data yet for these time periods. So by the next meeting, we should have at least through like the spring or so or the first few months of 2024. Then there was one snowstorm in early March, a really big one in the middle of March, the High Day storm, and then a couple of late snowstorms/rainstorms at the end of April. Then basically it turned super dry along the Front Range, so there was nothing in May. 1 warning in June, and then 2 in the last couple of weeks in July, where it actually was quite wet up in the high elevations there, and there was pretty strong upslope flow. So that'll be kind of an interesting period to look at once we get the data in there. And now, obviously, there's fires burning through all of those areas. Not up in the park, but between Loveland and the park and in other places that you all are seeing the smoke from, I'm sure. So next step, will just be to kind of keep things rolling, continue running the models, get the deposition data when it becomes available. Hopefully some of those early 2024 things will be in there by the time of the next meeting. And then once we get our new compute system, get that up and running, and hopefully get the models running out to longer lead times. So that's kind of where that all sits. But happy to take any questions or discussion or anything else.
Russ, do you know how 2023 is shaping up deposition wise? I mean, it sounds like you've been looking at least at weeks. I mean, I know that we don't know the total till it's completed, but
yeah, I mean, I think lower than you would expect for the amount of rain that happened, rain and snow for the amount of precipitation. That's kind of what it looks like. I mean, I've really only looked at the kind of for the big weeks, not as much as sort of the week to week numbers. And maybe Jim or somebody knows about that, but it was I had the graph somewhere. I think it was maybe like the 2nd or 3rd highest precipitation at Lock Vale over the last 20 years or so. But it didn't look like it was going to be the 2nd or 3rd highest deposition, at least based on those. Because there were a lot of weeks with a lot of precip and not as much deposition as you might guess.
And I would tell you, at least from my personal experience, Russ, I do think it had a lot to do with it washing out on the plains. I
Yeah.
got to where I dreaded getting an early warning notice because it meant it was gonna rain again. And we
Yeah.
had just gotten hammered. I mean, it was bang on last year. It was like every time I'd get a warning, we'd get another inch of rain. And last
Yeah.
year was absolutely incredible in Weld County. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. So I think that will probably be a pretty big component. Is it rained up at the park, but it also rained down here. I mean,
Yeah. No, I think that's right. Well,
Um,
at least we were forecasting the rain well, even if
yeah.
wasn't
no, Russ, you're
forecasting
real- you
the
guys are real good
deposition.
at predicting that. I was also, are you on campus today? Or I don't know if you office at CSU or.
I do, but I'm actually not. I'm in Minnesota right now.
Okay,
We've
fair
been
enough, yep.
visiting family, so normally
Well,
I am
I
there,
didn't
but
mean to
I'm
put you
not
on the
right
spot.
now.
I was gonna swing by your office if you happened to be in there, but I'll
No,
circle back
otherwise
with
I
you
would have.
later.
Yeah, I would have come to the meeting in person if I was there in town.
That's what I
right
figured.
now, but
Yep, sorry. Yep, I figured. I appreciate it. And so, Jim?
Yeah, so I'm also interested in, well, I think everyone's interested in minimizing these false alarms, you know, where previously warnings have maybe aligned with low deposition in the park. Is it, what would it take to get there? You know, building in the layer and the consideration for like moisture at the site, at the emission site, or precipitation along the way that would you know, essentially remove the pollutants from the air mass moving towards the park. Do we have that capability? Can we work on that capability?
I guess
yeah, I mean, no, go ahead, Bonnie.
no, you,
No, I think it's. I mean, I think it's tough because of both of those. Like, right? You know that if it rains a lot, you know, on a facility, right? Like that's going to reduce the emissions there, and that we
Right.
don't really have a. But I don't have a good sense for like by how much, right? So there's kind of that factor, and then there's the factor of the emissions you've got going towards the park are right, are getting washed out in the rain
Right.
that actually falls. I mean, we try to pay attention to that, you know, when issuing the warnings. But last year it was just, it really was just so extreme that it was just raining so much all of the time. And so, like, I think we kind of took the perspective of, well, if it's going to rain, you know, an inch or whatever up in the park, like the deposition's probably going to be high, even if the concentration isn't that high. But clearly that it's not that simple, and I'm not sure, you know, again, in an extreme wet year like that, I think it's
Well, and
challenging.
I will also say that I think I'd rather err on the side of a few too many false alarms. I don't think it's overly burdensome to folks to do it. And even if it washes out, well, hey, maybe you've at least reduced it a little bit anyway. And I don't think we're in the territory yet where people are getting too many of them. And then I will also say that like in that kind of anomalous year in 2023, we weren't doing most of that stuff. We weren't fertilizing, we weren't scraping pens, we weren't moving manure because we couldn't. I mean, last year, you know, is very, it was just completely different, but I would rather, I guess, a few too many false alarms than missing those big events. And I get the impression that's just maybe how it is because it's so complicated.
Sure.
You probably just, in order to catch the big events, you're gonna have to throw some false alarms
Well,
out there.
that's good to hear from you, Bonnie. I just didn't. I don't want this to turn into a bigger issue later, and for it to kind of, for producers to sort of lose confidence in it. But if it's at this, if it is complicated, if it's at a sort of a tolerable rate right now, I mean, let's keep an eye on this.
And I think it is for most years. And I think
Okay.
last year, you know, you can't compare anything to last year. A lot of it was just like, I think, you know, I'd get the alarm and I'd be like, well, great, better go tell everybody to get ready for rain. Or they'd get the alert at the yard and they'd be like, well, guess it's gonna rain again. So the folks I've talked to in our organization don't mind it. And
Okay.
in a normal year, it's not, I don't think it's overkill. And then in a super wet year, we're not doing it anyway, so, you know.
The
Yeah,
other,
that's actually really interesting to hear that a lot of those, the stuff, the, you know, the practices are not happening because it's so wet. So that, I mean, that's kind of interesting to keep in mind. But I think too, Bonnie, I've heard from a few other producers as well. I think Zach maybe mentioned that to me at one point too, that like people, you know, it's not kind of the purpose of the system to be like issuing, be giving people their rain forecasts, but it seems to be, you know, people like it just for that, like they're using it for that reason, just because it's kind of telling them when a wet period is
I'll get it.
on the way.
I feel like, you know, like,
They're looking dressed.
I do. I'm like,
It's an-
coming the other way.
it's definitely another piece of information. Like, so you'll add it all up and like, if they forecast rain and then you get that alert, you're like, well,
Well,
probably.
is there a way to combine those two, Russ? Because it sounds like, I mean, when you think about the CIG project too, we're looking at adding water to prevent emissions. And so is there a way to predict the upslope conditions, but also maybe rainfall on the eastern plains and combine those two as kind of a super forecast?
I mean, sure. There's quite a few different. So I wouldn't use like the models we're running as like the real word on the rainfall, especially when it's thunderstorms involved. But like I can certainly also point people to sources of the better rainfall information, and at the same time, like I could imagine, you know, like there's probably ways we could you know, it wouldn't be that hard to like automate something where it's like, well, this, you know, these two models and NOAA all are predicting, you know, a ½ inch of rain over whatever location, and have that like push something out. Like that wouldn't be that hard to do, if that's something people are interested in. I mean, it's, you know, I think it's some of it depends on the time frame too, right? Like mostly what we're looking at for these warnings is the somewhat more prolonged rain events, not, you know, where individual thunderstorms are going to go. Whereas out in Weld County, for example, a lot of the rain is coming from, you know, did a thunderstorm hit the property or not? And maybe 5 miles away, it didn't rain at all. But I know people are just kind of using their weather apps and the weather service and stuff for that kind of thing. And we could at least try to, maybe there's some additional context to provide. Anyway, happy to talk a little more about it.
So Greg, I think you're asking, you almost want an atmospheric chemistry model that looks at how rain would dampen the emissions of ammonia or put it down next door. And then you would use your weather model to see about the moisture getting up to the park, but this would give you some idea of the concentrations and how they're dampened with rain at the sites where the emissions are happening.
And we may not even need that. I mean, I think from the CIG project, we're seeing that when you put water out there, it suppresses emissions for a certain amount of time. You know, we'll figure out a number on how much, but if we know it has that short-term effect, and if the early warning system is predicting upslope flow and precipitation in the park, that would lead to deposition. But we can also incorporate that, hey, during this time that we would normally have emissions that could get carried up the park, we're also going to get suppression.
Yeah.
That would be a good piece of information.
I think it'd be really important. But I had a different question.
Please.
So would it help you, Russ, to get preliminary NADP data? I just got, I get it. I know Christy Morris gets it. Jim, you might get it too for Luckdale. I've got data through February of 2024 already. Do you want data earlier? It's preliminary.
I
It's
would
not-
like data earlier. I would love to get data earlier
Okay.
because I download it from the NADP site and I look at it and I would love to get it.
So you get the 3-month early.
I go download whatever they will let me download off of their website.
Oh, that's only after they proofed it.
Yeah.
So this is
Correct.
like, you want like,
I would love that. If anybody be willing to send it to me, I like looking at that data and
okay,
so
let me.
I'm interested anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. And I know Jim used to send me that in the past, and yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take it if you're sending it out.
And Jim's had his hand up for a while, so Jim.
yeah, and just in response to that, Russ is right. Like previously, I used to get that, and occasionally I still get the preliminary data. But if there's a more efficient way, if like Jill gets it anyway, maybe she can just
Sure.
share it
I
with
forward
those
it to Brian.
interested.
You can send it to everybody.
Yeah, I'm happy
Okay.
to be the conduit.
Okay, but realize there are caveats.
yeah,
NADP
we-
Oh, yeah, yeah.
hasn't done all their
Yes.
Maybe we could, maybe let's spend a minute now, just so we have it in the notes, but, you know, how many caveats do we put on it, and what is the likelihood of a variation? I mean, is it, I know you can't say this, but is it 10%, you know, of the truth, or 90%?
Yeah, that's a good, we'd have to go back to NAEP and ask them that question.
Yeah, it'd be nice, as every time we put it out, you know,
Yeah.
we just have this disclaimer at the top, that's your words, not people making their own assumption about
Right.
what the quality here is, so that way you can control the blowback, you know, and when you issue corrections, you can say, you know, as we mentioned, you know, corrections happen because
Yeah.
we learn new things, and that means now we're 20% more or less or whatever. I just want you to be able to control that dialogue rather than have other people react to it on their own without this disclaimer.
I will also
Well,
tell you that at
okay.
least like what I get, you have to care really hard about it to even know what it says.
Okay.
And if you're getting to the point, I think, where you can understand what's in those files, I think you
Well, we can
should be pretty savvy. I don't know, at least,
do a primer on what's in the files,
Yeah.
but it's weekly, so you know, it's like, how do you
Yeah.
interpret that monthly?
yeah, but
Annually?
yeah, I
think
mean,
that's
I
what
think,
Kristen-
I guess my point being is like, as long as there's a disclaimer, I think most of the folks who are gonna look at it will
Will get the
understand, cause you kinda have to wanna try to,
Yeah,
because they're not gonna give you deposition. They will give you it in like millicues of nitrate and ammonia, and so then you have to convert it to, and to even see what it is, and by that point, you would know, you know. Cause all that stuff comes out in the final version after they've cleaned
right,
it all up.
it's
and
not
it's-
available in the preliminary.
Yes, and it shouldn't be, so I think we're pretty safe on that, you have to,
Okay, good.
you have to really dig into it.
But I would like to hear what Christie's thoughts
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
I know that Jim has got thoughts again too.
I think
I was
Chrissy and I
just
are gonna
gonna-
echo this. Go ahead. Chris.
Yeah, Jill, I appreciate the offer. If it makes more sense for me to be sending out the preliminary data, I am also happy to do so.
Good, you're on.
The other layer to this is that this group is familiar that the agency's increased certainty of the high elevation deposition by through a better method to substitute missing concentration and
Yeah.
precipitation data. And so this preliminary data would not have benefited from that. That's the other kind of grain of salt to consider. But it is, I mean, I think to Bonnie's point, I mean, you're gonna have to dig a little deep to even use it. So it should be a fairly small audience. I mean, like Bonnie, Russ,
It's gonna be me.
minimally.
Just one.
Yeah.
And also,
I already said no. So no.
you know, Jim, I mean, I appreciate the data substitution method, but really all I wanna look at is what you actually measured. I mean, I get that that's a component of it, and it's always gonna be, but
You
Um,
can see big events.
yeah.
and that's what I look at. When
Yeah.
I'm looking at data.
Okay.
Sure.
Right,
Um,
I think that would be the most useful purpose, at least on my end, would be that, you know, today we could say, oh, yep, that event in February actually looks like it was pretty big, and then when the final data comes in, we can confirm that, but I'm not sure we'd try to interpret it in any more detail than that.
So does it also include, I mean, it's, my impression is that there's like all these error codes that you get where it's like been an extended sampling period.
Yeah.
Do they actually give you that analysis of, cause it seems like they run
You have to-
analysis
you have
on
to Find
those.
it. It doesn't show up on the printout, but it'll
Okay.
say quality of the data and error code BDEF.
Right, but so does it still give you, do they still run those samples? And so in the preliminary, you'd
Oh,
at
yeah.
least get the results from those samples that were deemed contaminated or deemed,
So then NADP
Okay.
later on makes a decision whether those data are valid or whether they would kick them out for
Yeah.
the annual summary.
and that would be helpful for me, cause like sometimes I go through and look and see what weeks were deemed, you know, extended sampling period, and sometimes it tends to be a huge rain event, and I would love to know what was in that bucket, whether it was good or not.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything with this besides just entertaining myself, I think, so. But that would be great, cause that's a missing piece for me is
Okay.
those samples that later get pulled out by NADP, but still potentially used in some way to come to a final conclusion on their best guess at deposition.
So there's a lot of reasons why you get error codes. Sometimes there's
Yeah.
bugs in the samples.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
not all
sometimes
of
it
those
stayed
could
open
happen.
too long, or you couldn't get up there quick enough, right? Like.
Yeah, we've been pretty good at getting up.
No,
there.
yeah, we've been, yep, that's what it looks like.
Okay.
But I guess the part is just that it sounds like, I didn't realize they still ran analysis on those samples, even though they are deemed.
Every-
Okay, oh, good to know.
I have a
So
point back on the early warning
We'll
system
share.
if we're done with preliminary data.
Oh, Christy will share then?
Yes,
Christy,
I
you
will.
wanna share that with me and then I can share with the group, or,
There you
I'm
go.
happy to be useful.
I can just send it directly to Bonnie and to Russ and anybody else who's interested.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I'll make sure that you get the list of what those codes.
Oh, that'd be great.
stand for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And go ahead, Jim, back to early warning.
Yeah, on back on the early warning, we do anticipate a repeat question from the commission about the early warning system, just to kind of prime us with, and it's like it's the complete context for like how many producers in Colorado, how many are how many producers in the counties that receive warnings, how many producers in the focus area versus how many producers like participate and actually change their practices. And some of those are easy to come by. Some may require a little data dig in there. But if Bonnie, you can come prepared with some or all of those, it would help us to satisfy the commission on this item that they're going to.
And I've been meaning for a while, Russ, to email you. I'd like to spend some time talking with you about that and about the future of the system. So I'll send you an email.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, and some of that is like we have the data, we have the the list of producers and how many people are getting the messages and all that. Like that stuff's easy. Are they actually doing anything about it is a little bit more complicated. So
and I would say, Russ, even if that's something that you have that's in a rough format that somebody needs to work on, I can probably do that, I would think. So let's work on the best way to get answers to these questions. I'll circle up with you.
Cool. Yeah, sounds great.
And Jim, the meeting, is it the 15th or the 16th? Do we know yet?
On the 15th, Megan, if chime in and confirm.
Yep, that's right. It's the 15th. I think there's one briefing before this one. And so I'm imagining it will take place in the first half of the day. As you all know, the exact timing with commission presentations is hard to predict, but hoping that, maybe it'll be around between 10 and 11, it might kick off. If
and
that's my best guess.
No, that's all good. As long as I know what day it is, that's fine. I just wasn't sure which day. So that's our hard deadline, Russ, is August 15th. So
cool. Yeah, I'll be back in town next week. So just drop me a message and we can have a Zoom call, or if you want to meet up somewhere or whatever, we can do that.
That would be great. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Russ. Great work. Appreciate everything you're doing. All right. Well, we have a couple other thoughts here to cover in terms of our agenda. Just want to share, we did get some, unfortunately, Dr. Alberman had what he called a contingency this morning with a blown pump. So he has been consumed with that, trying to save his experiments. I don't think he's having a good day. He'd much rather be with us. That's what I gathered. But he did take a few minutes to drop me an email, and he wrote this. So in italics, these are his words. I'll give you a chance to read what he shared. So there's that repeated experiments, right? The 8 to 15% reduction that we've been talking about. 2 peaks. Okay. And then the alum.
What does it do? It binds to the ammonia.
Well, done to
the alum.
The alum reduces the pH so that it stays as ammonia instead of ammonia.
Did everyone hear that? Maybe a little louder.
Sure. Yeah. So the alum reduces the pH of the surface so that the nitrogen stays as ammonium instead of creating ammonia gas that's then released.
Thank you.
So it leaches out, but it doesn't go up.
It stays in the manure. I mean, it stays on the pen surface.
Going to conduct more experience, and then began the first field scale demonstration about 5 weeks ago in Northeast Colorado. And we'll conclude that and start a second one. Then here's the last bits, and we have a fun chart in a second. So the chart, I'm going to zoom in on this much more because, well, I'll read the summary here and so yellow is dry. And then I'm going to zoom in on the chart here just so you can get this. You can see the code down at the bottom. That work?
So it's different concentrations of alum.
Yeah.
I very much appreciate the spelling of these concentrations are super expensive to really drive that point home. But that's, yeah, I mean,
Which is what we assumed.
yeah, that is a pretty significant difference.
I'm just looking to see where that.
So any questions here? Someone help that knows this material can respond other than me.
There's gotta be cheaper compounds besides alum.
I mean, when I was doing, this is a long time ago, but when I was doing water treatment classes, alum was one of the cheapest things you could use for this kind of thing. I mean,
Okay.
What about
alum,
calcium carbonate, just limestone.
but I think, I mean,
That doesn't that increase the pH though?
It increases the pH, you gotta go
Yeah.
the other direction. You
Right,
do more
right.
acidic.
I mean, I think alum's dirt cheap. I think the answer is, it just takes a whole lot of it to have the impact that you want. And so I think it's a numbers game more than anything, but, and again, that was a grad student.
$6 for 50 pounds.
Okay. Is that $3 a pound?
Yeah, basically,
Okay.
yes.
That-
So I'm just, all I did was alum cost per kilogram since we're a ton of grams.
And I feel like maybe that's why they went with alum, because it is one of the cheaper, you know, if it does work. And if you could find I mean, if it worked at a concentration that was economic, that'd be great.
And
But
that's a wholesale bulk cost.
Yeah.
So we, on the
7
poultry
million
side,
bucks.
we do some work with amendment applications in-house.
Yeah.
And so alum and then sodium bisulfate, they're kind of the two big pieces that.
Which jacks the pH up. so
Right,
you
no,
might-
actually, it drops the pH as well. And so they're pretty comparable for the most part, but yeah, difference in cost.
Would acetic acid work? Could you use vinegar?
Probably anything that drops the pH should.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's been as well studied.
Vinegar?
Seems like it'd be cheap.
I think again, you're just gonna need it at such insane concentrations.
A bucket of.
And okay, so it's when you add additional hydrogen atoms with a low pH, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, then you'll get the NH4 rather than the NH3. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Craig.
Sure.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, the kicker is when you lower the pH, you increase the odor coming off of the feedlot because those volatile fatty acids become more volatile. So it's a balance.
So there's a potential adverse consequence there.
And there is a sweet spot on pH numbers too. I want to say it's like if you get it below 9, you go more ammonium than ammonia.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not going down to like 2, right? You're kind of, you want to keep it kind of in the 7.5 to 9 range. 8 to 9 may be okay too. And if you can do that, then you're getting some pretty good reductions.
So interesting fact, because I just pulled the fluent samples out of swine ones, that's our pH
Okay.
period. Is
Perfect.
at between 7 and 9.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't know on funny.
Yep, thanks, Russ. Yep.
I don't know. I just pulled them.
All right. So any other questions on Dr. Oberman's research or findings? He said he would be happy to take follow-up questions from us. So if you think of something over the next day or two and you see the notes and all that, feel free to share them with me. And I can share those results back with the full team or update the notes if there's something interesting that comes out of the QA. So he apologizes for not being
Well, yeah, you got to go to Myrtle Beach, though. Really?
No. I didn't even get to go to Myrtle Beach.
I was, I didn't get to go to Myrtle Beach when I worked at
All right. Thanks everyone for that. We're back on track as far as time. So, and we'll probably end early at this point, but let's give the microphone over to Jim. And I know Rebecca was planning on joining, but I don't see her.
I'm here. I just had to call in my phone.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Great. Glad you're here. I'll give you guys the screen if you like.
And Megan, I'm going to defer to you first with just an update. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everyone. I can kick us off for the agency update. It's been a very busy week and a very exciting week. The report draft is completed. So this is the draft report that is being released through CDPHE public comment process. Hopefully today, fingers crossed today. I'm working to finalize the logistics with our comms team, and I think we're close, if not pretty much there. And we'll be releasing it to public comment. The next step after the report goes to public comment. So actually for public comment, our plan and as of right now, and I believe this still to be the case, that we're going to be releasing it through our listservs and our air division listservs, which reach a couple thousand folks. Many of you might be on them, as well as pumping it on our social media to get it on folks' radar, and going to be sharing those resources with the other agencies so they can send out and pump it in the same way. So then the draft report will be available on our website and available for public comment, and we'll go into kind of a holding period at that point with the report itself. The next steps, I think, for us as a team are, sorry for any background noise, my daughter's camp doesn't start until just in a little bit and she's still home. The next steps for us are to get the presentation going, and Bonnie and Jim and team, what I'm thinking is that we do this in Google Slides so we can all collaborate. If that's easy for folks, I can create kind of a slide template for the presentation. Then I'm thinking we can all just get in and kind of put our own slides in on the template as we need to create our pieces of the presentation, and then kind of work together to make sure it flows, rather than kind of all working in PowerPoint and then having one person trying to combine all of them. Let's just do it in slides. Bonnie, does that work for you and the ag team?
Yeah, yep,
okay,
that'll work for us.
Okay, cool. And Jim, you gave me the thumbs up on that before. Cool. All right, so I'm thinking in the next couple of days, if not early next week, I'll get just like a slide template out, probably using last year's like the presentation, probably either from the last update or the last milestone report, kind of as a template, but then we'll be updating it, pulling slides, adding slides, etc. And we can all work together to do that. So any questions on that piece?
I also just to add to that, so the latest presentation given on this may have been by me at the biennial conference at Rocky. That could be a place to start for. It's got some of the latest, greatest information on there for us to build upon, but we can figure that out offline here. And I thought, did I talk on Bonnie? You want to go ahead?
Oh yeah. So I've heard one thing from Jim already. It's data on the early warning system and how many producers it's reaching and how many responses we're getting. What else do you have ideas? I mean, I've got my own ideas, but do you know what you'd like to see from ag for this presentation?
This was something we were gonna have a scheduled call with you to focus on, but I'll just say on the fly categorically, if just a shorter version of what you described for the BMP inventory development and ongoing efforts, and I think that is a heavy, has been, and it continues to be a heavy lift. You guys are working on, and then how that'll be, I guess to sort of to Jill's question, like how that would be utilized, painting the picture forward, looking at, talking about some of the bullets you included in your section of the milestone report on future plans for ag's contribution, and and goals of broad adoption of science-based BMPs, and say, I don't know, forecast maybe where you want to go with this, on, with the potential of things that we're going to be working with you on, if you're ready to say or not, increasing the size of the focus area. Maybe you're not there yet. And, and what does optimization of BMPs mean, is to the degree possible that can be defined.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm absolutely happy to do a separate call as well. But so I think we've done a lot of really hard work on the front end with the milestone report. So I don't think it'll be too hard to put it in the slide format. And then we will do as much as we can to commit to solid steps. I mean, not a whole lot has changed since we finished the milestone section, but we'll do what we can to actually put in a very specific action items where we have it decided, and where we want to go with it. So
the other thing I'll mention just quickly while we're on it is just the overall concepts of the guiding principles for the group, as this framework to move forward on. What was the other? Oh, we really need to make sure that this fits within the time frame that the commission gives us, and I don't know what that is yet.
Okay.
If it's going to be 30 minutes or 45 minutes for the state, Park Service, and ag to talk, we need to be efficient.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We'll just cram that 107-page report down into 30 minutes slides.
Right.
Wish you could have done that for the report itself.
It is significantly shorter than last milestone.
I appreciate that.
By about, I think, 60 pages or something.
Oh my God.
or something.
Maybe 30.
30.
Yeah.
Well, it is a hefty document.
Count it.
So, okay, very good. We'll follow up later on that.
And I think
Thanks,
so.
Bonnie.
I think so. Josh is going to be back in town on Monday, and what is it, Megan? We will schedule a meeting with Bonnie soon after to connect these dots.
I think
So
that sounds perfect.
I'll just tell you guys, Thursday, Friday is the only day I can do next week. I've got training all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
That'd be hard
Good to know.
I'll go ahead, even though he's out, I can still see his calendar. I'll go ahead and send some times just to get the hold on, since we seem to have limited availability.
Yep, Thursday, Friday, I'm open, and if I need to discuss another day, I can, but Thursday, Friday would be best for me.
We'll shoot for that, Bonnie, no problem.
Okay.
All right.
I guess the other thing quickly is we'll make sure, in terms of like this, I don't know if all the ag groups, Megan, are on the listserv, but we want to make sure that ag receives the notice. Can it be sent to Brian?
I was about to say, I'm happy to send it
Okay.
to Brian alongside when I send it to EPA and NPS, to notice and pump through your channels if you all would like to. If not, we'll just get the notice to you.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm happy to distribute.
Cool.
Other thoughts, questions on this topic? Okay. That leads us to, we've talked already about the BMP, so thanks, Bonnie.
Yep.
I need to get Russ's slides. I didn't get those from him. But I know I'll share those. I'll share a link back to those for everybody in the notes. And then you'll let me know what support you want on
Yes,
the
yep,
BMP.
yep.
right?
I think the next thing is gonna be getting through this milestone report, seeing what kind of comments we'd like to submit.
Yep,
Working with SES, and then, so it'll be a little while, but yes, Brian, I will keep you
That's
posted on what we need for
and ask for
support.
support on other things if you need, right?
Yes, will
I'm
do.
here to help, so
Okay,
don't want to be, don't want to insert myself where I can't be useful. but-
nope, I will keep it in mind.
Okay, great.
And I also just wanted to mention that we are able, and I think, Bonnie, you know this, but just for the group, we are able to extend the comment period to 45 days because we understand the busy time for the ag community, and that's not a problem. So it should be open for 45 days.
Fair enough. And, you know, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because it means we have more time to comment,
Yeah.
but so does everybody else. But I appreciate that. And
Agreed.
Said the same exact thing, Bonnie.
yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I would say, you know, if I had to put my money on it, like, will 15 days make organizations or groups comment that would not have been interested if it was 30 days?
No,
I'm not necessarily sure.
no, I
how much of
agree.
an impact that would be.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there waiting for it to drop, and they know, and they're gonna submit it, and then we're gonna be one of those
Exactly.
groups, so.
You got it.
But we might need the whole 45 days, so thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yes, it's totally totally happy to make that work.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of our scheduled agenda. Any walk-on items or anything else for the good of our order?
I have a question, and it may have been answered. So in the survey or the early warning,
Mhm.
it says, I will not be changing practices because there was no manure management plan. Does that get logged separately, then I will not be changing practices?
I think so. So this is a question I can ask Russ when I get
Okay,
together with him.
because I feel like I
These are-
say that a
these are-
lot,
Yeah,
because I make the phone call to the barn and be like, are we calling today? And they'd be like, yes or no, whatever. And
yeah.
I'll be like, okay, I'm not changing practices because we weren't anyway. But I want to make sure, because that's valuable too, for them to know.
Yeah, and
Because I don't
so-
want it to be like, nope, they said no.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not saying no, I'm saying,
And now that I've been on this industry side of it for a while, that's one of the things I want to talk with Russ about is ways that we can improve what responses we're getting. We'll see what all we're getting in the first place, because I think he's got a lot of that, and then talk with him a little bit about how to make it a little bit more, so we can get a little better, user-friendly, and then just maybe a chance
little
for
bit
some
better
different
information.
responses, because
Yes.
my yards struggle with that sometimes too. They'll show me and I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, then Mark, you're not doing it, but they might not have changed to do it, but
okay.
so I'm gonna talk with Russ about those.
Work schedule.
Yeah,
right,
so-
Differences. when you
Yes,
schedule
and I
to
think
do
now
it.
that we've run it and, it's a good time to kind of revisit it and see what improvements we can make there. So we're getting a new computer, would be a good time to maybe give it a little bit of a facelift. So, okay. I'll find out.
Thanks. All right, everyone. Any last thoughts? Yeah, thanks all. Appreciate it, Megan. Great work, everyone. We'll compile the notes, get the other presentations linked out and get back to everybody. Thanks to everyone who came here and saw us in person. Make sure you think about how we might use our May meeting and where we might want to go, or see if there's tours or other sites that we should visit as a group, various things. I want to make this as interactive as we can as we move forward. So appreciate your time and energy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks all.